Hey guys, do you struggle with clutter? If so, you're in the right place. Listen, we all struggle with clutter. Things make their way into your house. People give you free things all the time. You get things at different events, and it's just impossible to deal with it all, and you really have to come up with a system. I have some easy tips that I've picked up along the way that I'm gonna share that I think will help you if you don't know where to begin. Okay, the first thing that I recommend you do is to start with a vision. And I don't necessarily mean like a vision of like a clean house, or I simply mean just think of a room and how you want that room to look and how you want it to be. If it's your bedroom, think how you want your bedroom to look. Imagine how it could be. Go into this with that vision in mind. Okay, the next thing that I always like to do is I just start with the garbage. It's literally like the easiest thing to do. When I was cleaning out our attic a few months ago, I took a garbage bag, like one of the big black garbage bags, and I just went up into the attic and I started throwing away anything that was garbage. The way I kind of decided if something was garbage was, is it broken? Are there pieces missing? Does anybody use this? Is it actual garbage that belongs in the garbage can? I find that once you start with the garbage, it gets it a little bit cleaner, and then you can kind of see it a little better to understand what you need to do next. My other recommendation is to just start somewhere. I hear all the time people saying, I don't know where to begin. And I hear you. I am the same. So what I like to do is literally whatever room I'm standing in at that moment, I just say to myself, okay, well, I'm just gonna do this one drawer. Or sometimes I'll say, I'm just gonna declutter this one table, or maybe it's just this one corner, and I'm gonna just quickly kind of get everything off the table or out of the drawer or out of the corner. And I really just start there. It's easier to just pick a place and start there than it is to sort of start mapping out the entire project and planning out the entire projects. That's just gonna be demotivating in my opinion. I think just dive right into it, just pick one place to make it easier. And let me just kind of talk quickly about like the two kinds of clutter. Clutter for memories and then clutter for like just in case. I read this thing recently that when you do that, when you hang on to memories and then you hang on to things that you might need in the future, you're kind of like hanging on to the past and looking into the future, but you're not living in the present moment. So you really have to ask yourself, like, how can I live in the present moment? I don't need these things now. I don't need the memorabilia now. What I like to do with memorabilia, and this is something I've started to do a lot of now, is I simply take a picture of whatever it is so that I can have a memory of it. Keep the things that you really want to keep, but then other things, just take a photo and then get rid of it and part ways with it. Same thing for the future. There are things that you may want to hang on to that you can use and go through. Like if you've got a ton of paper towel rolls, that makes sense. But if you've got things, maybe you have like 10 wooden spoons because maybe in the future you may one day need them all. You won't need them all. Take all of those duplicates and get rid of them. Okay, my next is on clothing, and it's to make a process for clothing. If you're like me, I think that clothing is one of those things that I have way too much of it, I don't wear most of it, and it's totally cluttered. So here's my process for getting rid of clothing. Again, I grab a garbage bag and I go into my closet. The garbage bag for now is gonna be our donations bag. And I have a couple parameters when I'm looking at the clothing. So anything that is stained goes in the bag. Doesn't mean I'm gonna donate it necessarily, but this bag is kind of where we're starting. Anything that is super worn goes into the bag. Anything that's beyond repair also goes into the bag. Then I start thinking about things that I haven't worn. So I usually give myself about a year to say if I've worn something or not. So if I haven't worn something in a year, that also goes in the bag. I did hear this trick where once you wear something and you put it back in your closet to turn your hanger around, and then at the end of a year, you can see which hangers are backwards, and then you know exactly what you need to donate or toss. I also put anything that doesn't fit anymore into the bag. Sometimes I hang on to things for fear of like needing them, needing a different size. But at this point, we're just gonna put everything that doesn't fit. It doesn't fit us now, we don't need it. I also put anything that doesn't fit into my life into the bag. Sounds kind of funny, but like I have all of these fancy dresses that I used to wear. I don't go anywhere these days where I need a fancy dress. I don't need to hang on to them. Ask yourself if you would buy that item again. If you're looking at it, just legitimately say, if I saw this on the rack today, would I purchase it? If you wouldn't, that also should go in the bag. And if you're really struggling to decide if you should keep something or not, just wear it today and see how you liked it. Did you feel good in it? Did you like it? If you didn't, go ahead and put that in the bag. And if you can't decide, try it on and ask a friend, ask your significant other, ask your kids. Maybe they can help you make a decision. And then my tip to kind of keeping it going long term is just keep a little donation bag or a donation bin in your closet, and then every day try to put something in it. And also to keep it going, just put yourself on a clothing purchase ban or a new clothing purchase ban. I do this regularly. I will say for 6 months, I'm not buying a single item of clothing. And once I have it in my mind that it's like a rule and I can't do it, I actually do stick to it. And I find it really helpful to keep clutter at bay with clothing. Okay, next is not to confuse decluttering with organizing. Back in the day, I would tell myself, oh, I'm gonna declutter this closet. And then I would go out and purchase a bunch of baskets and bins without even knowing what I was going to use them for. Don't go about it that way. What you have to do first is you need to declutter and get rid of everything. And then once you've gotten rid of everything, then you can figure out how to organize it. And then you can figure out what baskets or bins that you may need. Again, those could also just be potential clutter though, so go into it carefully. Okay, next is to take a photo of the area that you want to declutter so that you can look at it with fresh eyes. For some reason, I find that when I'm staring at my kitchen every day, the clutter doesn't really jump out at me. Yet, when I take a photo of the kitchen and then look at it, then I can kind of see the clutter and I can understand. The other thing you could do is you could send that picture to a family member, ask them to take a look if you need some help deciding like if it looks cluttered or what maybe could go. Try to use photos and that will really help you look at it with fresh eyes. And then speaking of photos, it's really good too to do like a before and after photo. One of the things you can do if you've got like an area in your house that you want to declutter, you could take a before picture and then remove everything and take the after picture and kind of compare the two and decide, okay, now what do I want the space to look like? What should I put back and what should I get rid of? Okay, my next tip is when you're decluttering, don't go into it thinking that you can sell stuff or and really like don't look at the things that you're decluttering and try to assign a monetary value to them. Just don't do that. I think it's a big mistake. A lot of people will say, oh, I have a ton of stuff. I'm going to get a ton of money. The problem is you're going to spend so much of your time selling it. You're going to be taking photos, putting it online, going back and forth with people who may want to buy it. It's really just not worth it. The return on investment isn't there. The next thing is to know that decluttering isn't a one-time job. It's kind of weird, but you almost have to think of it as a lifestyle because like I said at the beginning, stuff is constantly coming into your house. Things are constantly getting cluttered. So you need to think of it as an ongoing thing. Another tip I have, and this is especially helpful if you're not sure if you want to get rid of something, is to have a maybe box. So essentially, if you're not sure if you want to get rid of something, have a box and go ahead and put that item in the box. Then put the box away. After 6 months has gone by, I'll kind of say to myself, did I need anything in that box? Did I go back to that box? Because honestly, a lot of the reason why I keep things is because I'm afraid I'm gonna need it in the future. So I think the box is a good gauge. If you haven't gone to that box or needed anything in that box for 6 months, it is completely safe for you to donate it, toss it, whatever it is. But I think the maybe box really helps to make that decision. Okay, the next tip is to declutter 5 items a day. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but over time, it will end up being a lot of things. If that's too difficult, then go ahead and set a timer and say, I'm just gonna declutter for 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes, right? You will be shocked at how much you actually decide to get rid of and how helpful it is when you've got a set amount of items or a set amount of time that you need to be decluttering for. So now I'm gonna just give you a couple of quick ideas that I think you can get rid of today. So number 1, unused medication, makeup, and beauty products. Those, go through them, whatever you haven't used in a long time, that can easily be tossed, recycled, get rid of it. Second thing is mystery wires and chargers. These just pile up, they come into the house, we get scared to throw them away, just get rid of them. If you don't know what the charger goes to, if you don't know what this electronic wire goes to, just get rid of it. I promise they still make them if you throw something away by accident. You can borrow it from somebody, but don't hang on to all of those wires and chargers. Next is buttons. I used to save these from my shirts. I had so many buttons. I don't know what I was doing. I never used them. One day I got rid of them and I never looked back. The other thing is like tchotchkes, decorative things that you've got in your house. All of those things can go and they're just taking up space and making it really hard to even keep your house clean. Next is like books, magazines, envelopes, cards, if you've got holiday cards and birthday cards, those, just take a photo if you've got any that you're particularly sentimental about, but don't hang on to all of that paper. And kind of along the same lines is also if you've got like DVDs and CDs and things like that that you're no longer using. Next is old sheets and towels. These can actually be donated to animal shelters. They're always looking for these kinds of things. And I mean, if you're anything like me, we have lots of sets of sheets and towels and things that I think that we're gonna need one day, but the truth is we don't. So those are things that we can get rid of. And then another thing is getting rid of appliance manuals. If you've got these lying around your house, sitting in a stack somewhere, just get rid of those. Everything is online now. You don't need to keep the paper versions. And then the next thing is like if you've got winter gear, you know, hats and mittens and scarves, you can get rid of those. So those are my tips if you're a little bit stuck on where to begin when you're trying to declutter your house. I also have a video that I'll link, and it's all about kitchen decluttering and items that you can get rid of and you don't need in your kitchen. Good luck decluttering, and I'll see you next time.